Chloe is carrying my child after all. If you have any objections, you can only take them out on me privately. I won't allow you to hurt her." Chloe then pulled Derek's wrist urgently and said, "No, I don't want you to suffer either. It would break my heart." Chloe's brief words made Derek's eyes redden. Derek's parents nodded approvingly after hearing this, clearly satisfied with Chloe. I couldn't listen anymore and turned to leave. I locked myself in the master bedroom for the entire afternoon, not coming out. The laughter from the living room was particularly grating. In the afternoon, Mrs. Wilson knocked and came in to tell me that Chloe had wanted to stay in my master bedroom, but Derek's mother had stopped her. She said that you still have the backing of the Carter family, and they still need your help with various matters in the household, so they can't completely anger you. She also said, Mrs. Wilson had been with me since I was young and knew my temperament, so she paused here to gauge my reaction. Seeing that I didn't interrupt her, she continued, she also said that all expenses related to the pregnancy would be paid by you. Since you can't have children, you might as well participate and experience it. At this point, my face turned ashen. I straightened my sleeves and asked, is there anything else? Mrs. Wilson added, they said that since you don't have children, all your assets will belong to this child in the future. I couldn't help but laugh. This whole family had really calculated well. Although I was furious, I didn't show it. I knew now was not the right time. Mrs. Wilson asked what I wanted to do next, and I just smiled and told her to carry on as usual. She brought me lunch, and after eating, I sat by the bedroom window looking down. At that moment, Derek was taking Chloe out. Memories flooded back. 5 years ago, also in the afternoon, I had gone back to cry and make a fuss to my parents, saying I would marry no one but Derek. My parents already had a potential son-in-law in mind. They had their eye on Alex Shin, the only son of the Shin family. The Shin family held a top position in River City. Alex and I had been neighbors since childhood, and my parents always liked him, often inviting him over for dinner. But I had never had those kinds of feelings for Alex. After meeting Derek, my whole heart was devoted to him, and I naturally didn't want to marry into the Shin family. I always told my parents that our generation should make our own decisions about marriage, and that Alex surely didn't like me either. But my parents told me that if Alex didn't have feelings for me, he wouldn't have taken the initiative to pick me up and send me home so many times after I went out to play. In truth, I didn't care whether Alex had feelings for me or not at that time. The day I met Derek was the first day of university at the Student Council recruitment fair. We reached for the same application form almost simultaneously. He very politely said excuse me and graciously let me have the form. That day, he was wearing a gray tracksuit, had clear eyes, was very tall, and had a sunny smile. His hands were very attractive, and as someone with a hand fetish, I couldn't resist. This chance encounter made me unconsciously memorize his phone number. After we parted, I added him on Snapchat. When I told him my name, he said without hesitation, Miss Carter, I've heard a lot about you. From that day on, I couldn't help but hope to run into Derek on the street. I even desperately wanted to join the student council just to have more contact with him. Love at first sight. That's how I willingly followed in his shadow. After we got married, Derek proactively suggested helping me manage the company, letting me be a leisurely wife. I didn't refuse him. I believed that husband and wife should be of one heart, and Derek's family background was quite ordinary. I thought that since he wanted to make a name for himself in his career, I should help him. My parents and best friend had all advised me to think it through carefully. After all, before the wedding, my parents had told me that Derek wasn't marrying me purely out of love, but also because of my family background. I said I didn't care about those things. As long as he truly loved me, there was no problem. After marrying me, Derek's parents began living a comfortable life. They quit their factory jobs and lived very comfortably on the living expenses Derek transferred to them each month. They would even go around boasting that Derek was now a CEO, causing many of Derek's relatives to come to him for help. Those relatives even asked Derek to arrange marriages for their children, demanding that he try to match them with prominent figures in River City. Faced with this situation in Derek's family, I wasn't anxious. I thought that since my family was wealthy, helping them a bit more wouldn't hurt. Derek didn't know that on the night before my engagement, Alex had come to see me and given me a share transfer contract. He said he hoped I would sign it. If one day my marriage wasn't happy, he hoped I would have enough leverage to leave Derek. He also clenched his fists and seriously said to me, you have not only the Carter family behind you, but also me. If he ever hurts you, I definitely won't let him off easy. I laughed and said he was overthinking. From childhood to adulthood, I had always believed in my own judgment. I was sure Derek wouldn't let me down. Looking back now, all the advice everyone gave me was true. It was just that I was blinded by love at the time and didn't care about anything else. After marriage, even though I went along with everything he said, he would still find fault with various things, saying I didn't know how to do housework, that my temper was a bit bad, that I wasn't as virtuous as his friends' wives. At that time, I was completely focused on Derek, and I would even change my habits for him.